how did Rashida get involved in this project? Tell us, Rashida, how you.
You say. You tell him. You tell him.
So Rashida was on a Women in the World Daily Beast panel. I guess it was a little over a year ago, and she was speaking. She was on this panel, and it was with one of our main characters from Sexy Baby, and these issues, the issues of women being sexualized and objectified, and all of that was part of the discussion.
Sure.
And also pop culture. You know, they showed a pop culture. We used pop culture montages in our film, and Rashida was talking about how there's a one-noteness, a sort of homogeny to all of what we're seeing in today's, pop culture. And
As in very sexualized.
yeah.
Objectified, sexualized, performative.
And so we were like, ding, 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 and we sort of
Like, hey, we have a
approached,
new movie in the works.
and then Rashida was open to it, and we sent her a sample reel, and we got about the greatest email you could ever get from Rashida, from someone
Who can make a
Rashida,
difference when you're trying to get
who
attention for a film.
Really, I mean, her passion, she really cares about the subject matter, the material in our film, and the girls. And so when we got her email, we just kind of couldn't believe it. And then on top of it, Rashida really helped shape our film and make it bigger, because our film is a verite film. It's sort of a small story about these girls that are doing a very big deal thing. And Rashida helped just bring in the mainstream pop culture montages, and
I saw too that it is a very personal story, but it also had the opportunity, and now it's like the seminal film about porn. We haven't seen inside that world in this way.
So what are you finding in terms of, I'm sure it would be so interesting if you, depending on how the film goes, but you follow this over time to sort of see what the impact is on the lives of these girls, because I'm sure, you're young, you're 18, 19, you think you're immune, you think can do anything, and I think that the message our culture sends is sex is no big deal and hooking up is no big deal, and it's fine, like, get over it. But of course, over time, you have to wonder what those implications are going to be on their lives, on their emotional health, on their sense of self.
Although, Jill and Ron have done a really good job at keeping the takeaway of the movie balanced and nuanced, and because these are real people with real problems and real lives.
Are they here at the festival, any of them?
yes,
Yes.
the main
Okay.
character.
Oh, yeah, I got to meet those girls. Okay.
But for me, the takeaway is, it's just about whatever the cost is of saying, oh, you know what, I'm having sex anyway. Why not just do it on camera for money? They're not considering the real cost, the psychological cost, the emotional cost, the physical cost to your body, the trauma that it does on your body. To have sex for a living is a real thing, And I think by the time they realize it, it's not too late, because they can go back to their lives, but they've lost their childhoods. They're 18, they're 19, and they're
But
done
there's
with
also
porn.
this public document out there that
Kids care less about that part of it, though, right?
They do.
well,
It's a very
they may
odd
be
disconnect. It
mothers
really
at
is.
some day, and they will care then.
Maybe then, but there is definitely a disconnect, because they've been taking selfies, and that's how they get into it in the first place. It's no big deal to send a naked picture to a porn recruiter. It really is no big deal,
I'd be remiss to not bring up the fact that there's another film that also delves into at this festival, another documentary, The Hunting Ground, that I saw yesterday. And it's also a very powerful subject, and it's women kind of talking about the impact of, it's kind of an epidemic of a culture of rape on campus. I don't want to overstate it, but they talk about 16 to 20% of women on campus experiencing date rape. And they cite studies from like the mid-90s to now. So there's like 8 studies that they cite. So it's just like, in case, because as a journalist, I'm skeptical. That sounds ridiculous. And so, I think that the fact that you guys are doing this kind of work, and the fact that Amy Ziering and Kirby Dick, who did that film, are doing that kind of work, I think it's so important, because the message that our culture sends as a whole, is very damaging. I think it doesn't teach young women to value their bodies, I think, in a way.
That's a huge thing too, as we talk about all the time, is the difference between sexuality and sexualization. Because it's performative, women they're not feeling joy from it. This would be a whole different conversation if women were like, we're having sex, we love it so much, we want more of it, we feel so good about our bodies and ourselves, but that's not the conversation. It's performative. It's fulfilling a male fantasy. It's not about how you feel about it. It's like going with it because you're making money, which again is like the connection between that being a female empowerment thing. It's so tricky to have that conversation because you're making money and therefore you're empowered, but what is the real cost to your soul, to your psyche? Women should feel pleasure and have sex and feel good about it,
and not feel guilty and
no
choose to do
and
that. Sure.
There's a lot of shame in both these situations, I feel like.